start to get everything kind of together and live, I'm going to, well, I'm going to work to make sure that I have all my links together. Everybody's able to join. So while I'm getting everything done, if there's anything in particular that people would like to discuss tonight, please just jump in. Let's start to talk about it. That's the link I was looking for. Cool. All right, everything there should be good. Now, how's it going? I can tell you it has been, wait, what is today? Tuesday. It's already been a week. Well, it's okay. All right, we're going to have an interesting conversation about, a few different topics: repairs, contractors. That's going to kind of be one of the main topics. And as always, if you stay around, if you like it, then I encourage you engage. Please like, subscribe, share, all that stuff that they tell you to do. But more so, ask your questions. I want to know what is it that's weighing on your mind about real estate that we can discuss. I just had a great conversation with Elena. She's an investor. She has a podcast, and I was on the show with her this afternoon at 6. So one of the things that she wanted to know about and have more exposure to her audience was about private money lending, hard money lending, what makes a deal good to some people. And with that, well, I'll just kind of go back in, kick this back off. And if that's where we go with the topic tonight, then great. But otherwise, I'll at least have something to share with everyone so that you can see something besides my pretty face, I guess. Anyway, just going to go ahead and get this shared. All right. Now, before we get started on this and open a whole can of worms, well, I'd like to really just kind of see what people are working on. Are you seeing the market shift more favorably to, projects for flips, or maybe even the numbers are working for rentals? And if they're working for rentals, are you buying based on appreciation play? Are you kind of treating real estate right now like it's in the dip, so you're buying in the dip and you're hoping to gain appreciation over the next, 5, 10 years? Or are you buying for cash flow? You see, personally, I'm buying for cash flow. I picked up a property, I believe it was maybe Friday, if not Thursday. This is a 3 bedroom, 1 bath in Shreveport. I've got it under, no, I'm sorry. I picked it up last Tuesday because I remember talking about it on Wednesday at a different mastermind that I'm in. So I'm picking up this property. It's a 3 bedroom, 1 bath in Shreveport for $30,000. And obviously, it needs some work. It's in an area that is more of a, I would call it a low C class kind of property, and just got one of the bids in today. It is I mean, it's all right. It's about what I expected. Nothing to just write home about and say it's a slam dunk. Just the labor's coming in at just over $16,000. The materials are about 6,000, and that is not including the roof or the electric upgrades. So we'll see where it really lands after that. But I would say the play on this one's going to be Section 8. And the HUD FMRs, or fair market rents, I'll just look them up right quick. For a 3 bedroom in Shreveport, Louisiana, Caddo Parish, you can get up to $1,317. Well, for a two bedroom, you can get up to 1,017. For a one bedroom, up to 892, and for an efficiency, 767. Keep in mind, that's not exactly how it goes. Just because they can pay it doesn't always mean that you're guaranteed to get it. Because you also want to keep in mind a couple other aspects. Number one, supply, demand. Can somebody take their voucher, if they have a $1,300 voucher, and rent a three bedroom in an area that they would like more than where you have yours? Well, if that's the case, and everybody with that $1,300 voucher goes outside of that area, maybe the market rent under Section 8 or HUD for that rental in that area might be 900, might be 1,000, hell, it might be 600, depending on where it's at. But also, you want to make sure of the amenities. The big thing that a lot of people miss when they're looking at doing Section 8 rentals is getting the property in the condition in which HUD will use or allow somebody to use their voucher. Well, here's a couple just quick things on a cheat sheet for you. If the home is built prior to 1978, you cannot have any peeling, chipping paint, rotted wood, broken windows. There's a number of those things. Um, Thank you, TZ. I appreciate you reaching out. The main focus that you want to look at is the habitability of the house. So when HUD says, hey, we're going to use our money to provide assistance to this person for housing, yet we want them to have a safe and habitable house, you have to make sure that certain conditions are met. Number one, you can't have a window that won't open or shut. As a matter of fact, it used to be just one window in every room had to open or shut. Now, recently, at least in Shreveport, we're seeing that they're requiring every room and or every window in every room to be able to open and close. And quite simply, that's in the event that they need to get out. So you can't just have these old homes with, say, 1920s, 1930s construction with these wood frame windows that were painted shut back in 1970, and they've just had layer upon layer of paint added ever since. So it's going to have a little bit of a cost. One of the things that we do when we approach any property is I will get a bid to make sure that the bare minimum standard for that property is going to be Section 8 acceptable. So I would encourage you to make sure that whenever you buy a property, especially a cash flow property, to do that so that you can have the flexibility, even if you're not looking for Section 8, that you can at least pivot over there if the need arises to go to Section 8. And I apologize for a second. Let's see. All right. Yes, sir. See you then. Sorry. Take advantage of this just to kind of catch up on some work too. So if anybody, again, does have questions, jump in, drop a question. Otherwise, you're just going to see me working and eventually going through this little presentation. All right. All that to say, going back to the property, so we expect to be about $60,000 in market rents over there. Last I checked, it was kind of showing around that 1,100 mark. But actually, I've got a friend that has some Section 8 rentals over there, so why don't I just ask him? Come to think of it, I've got another buddy that has some. I'm just going to ask a few people. What are you getting in the rents over there? I'm projecting that we'll probably land around that 1,100 mark. And just to make sure, let me check something. So there's this great resource. If you haven't ever used it before, you can get the first few uses, I think three or four, free. But it's called a rentometer, right? Or a rentometer, depending on however you want to say it. But I'm just going to go with a three-bedroom, one bath within a smart radius of this property. We're going to check the rents. I put it in there, and it's got this really cool kind of aspect to where it'll tell you what your average median 25th percentile, 75th percentile looks like. And ah, not as good as I thought. We're looking at about 900 is where we want to be topping out. So, okay. So 900, if I'm in it for 60, I'm still hitting 1.5% on my return. So I should cash flow about 150 a month after my debt service. And again, that's going to be based on a 20-year amortization at 725 was the last quote I got. I don't think the interest rates have went up since then, so that's probably about where we're going to land. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't know about you, but 150 a month, and I'll be in it for $60,000. Yet it should appraise for 90 to 95, which means that I can refinance everything back out that I've got in the deal. Oh, all right. Here's a great topic for tonight, and it comes down to leverage. Right? Kind of funny that I have deal or no deal up there on the screen. So on Thursday, I'm going to be speaking at the Orlando RIA. And that's also coincidentally the same or the date, 10 years to the day that we bought our first property. So April 24th, 2015, we became landlords. And little did I know it was going to change the whole trajectory of our lives. I've got to say, it's been awesome. It's not what I've expected at times, but it's also more than I've expected at others. So I get the pleasure of going up there and sharing my story and sharing a few tips and tricks that I've picked up along the last decade to help others hopefully go out there and change their lives. And with that, a lot of that has come down to leverage and responsible leverage at that. And by responsible leverage, well, let me give you some examples. If a bank says, "Hey, look, your house appraised for $100,000, and we'll finance up to $80,000 for you on this property." Let's just say that you're in it for $50,000, right? So you've purchased it and renovated it and got it to a nice rentable state for that $50,000. Now the bank says, "Hey, you can have another 30,000 if you want to." And you don't think it through as well. You're like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll take it because it's a non-taxable event." Side note: this isn't legal or tax advice. Blah 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 blah. Finding the appropriately licensed person or professional for these questions. But all that to say, whenever you're going through that, it's tempting to take that other $30,000 and slide it in the pocket. Maybe buy a truck. Maybe go on a cruise. I don't know. Whatever you want to do with it. But over the years, rather than do it that way, we would tell the banks, "No, just give us back the 50 that we've got in the deal, please. Thank you." And over the years, through a number of deals that are similar to that acquisition and based on that model, we haven't over leveraged ourselves. What we did do was we went to the bank and say, "Hey, you've already got a $50,000 note here. You would have given me 80. So I've done 10 deals like this. Would you give me the line of credit or a line of credit secured by the equity that I haven't tapped? So if we average out 30,000 a house that you would give me over the last 10 houses, would you give me a line of credit of $300,000 that I can now take and use when I need to flip houses, to buy more rentals, to do this, to do that, to start lending?" The bank says yes, which is great. Now, one of the key things about that, the key factor, is that whenever you have responsible debt leverage, every month, if you have a $300 mortgage and you have $900 a month in rent, right, coming in, it's easier to pay. I know this is going to be a shocker, but this is easier to pay than if it was a $500 mortgage because you see the tough times. Anybody can be a real estate investor when it's good and when it's easy. When, say, a pandemic hits, right? When shit goes sideways, when a renter moves out, trashes the place, and you don't have it available again for another 3 months, would you rather pay $300 a month while that happens, or would you rather pay five? There's a lot of investors that went sideways back in 2020 whenever the moratorium came out that you could not evict tenants for non-payment of rent. We got lucky. Number one, we had great tenants and still have great tenants. So we didn't have to have that tough conversation with them all that often. We only had two or three that didn't pay their bills. And you know what? I'm not even going to be petty. I was about to call out one in particular. I was going to kind of like give him a little nod, a little wink, know where you work. Collection calls are probably still coming in on it. But you know what? I'm going to work to be better. Um, no, I'm not. Yeah, no, I am. I'm gonna work to be better. Yeah. So anyway, so we did have to evict a couple tenants, three tenants, but the ones that communicated, we worked with them. We put them out, put them in touch, not put them out. We put them in touch with programs that were able to help them get their rents, make accommodations, and just really overall work to make sure to help them. Because our banks thankfully worked with us because again, we had great leverage points. They didn't want to mess with anybody that was really doing well, but the ones that were over leveraged that they didn't have their choice but to foreclose on or take and recapture the properties. Those are the ones that unfortunately they had to go and put their attention to. So I would say that that's one thing that has helped us over the past decade was responsible leverage. And as I go to get into this, and as I go Thursday to speak and share that with people, I really just want people to understand there's so many ways that you can make money in this business that you don't have to subscribe to a methodology or a thought process just solely based on greed. Now, it's okay to make profit. I, I'll be the first person to say that it's okay to make a profit. But as far as going out here and, you know, being so greedy that you put you, your family, and other people in bad positions, that's not necessarily something that I would encourage you to do. So, a lot of people need to understand the concept that you make your money when you buy the property and you have to buy it right. And if that's not right for you, then maybe it's right for somebody else. So, for example, if for some reason these rehab costs come back on this property and it no longer makes sense for my strategy to purchase, I can still lay it up to somebody else and make $5,000 assignment fee. That's pretty cool, you know? So over the course of the last decade, you learn these things. And some people understand that you are waiting to get started. And if you're waiting to get started, maybe I can share some insight. And if you didn't see my podcast with Alina, I'll just kind of go through a few of these things to hopefully share with you. All right. So here's one. Let me see if I can't. Oh, there we go. You don't need to see my face whenever you see my face. So take a chance or take a second to read this while I get a sip. Oh, that's a really good Sprite Zero right there. One of my favorite quotes, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to stop this right here because I really want to drive this part home. Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. Archimedes, one of my favorite quotes, even to this day, and it has been for over a decade. Another way of saying it is give me a long enough lever and a place to stand, and I can move the world. That's another one. But it comes down to leverage. How can you leverage your time, your resources, your knowledge to grow where you want to grow? Well, let's talk about it briefly. And no, I haven't forgotten that I'm going to rag on contractors for a little bit after this. So please stay tuned if you want to hear that fun. It's going to get me a mint and on with the show. So you need to understand that whenever you apply leverage, that's usually going to be through debt, right? Because you're either going to have money or time. But you got to have one of them. If you don't have money, you're going to have to learn about leverage. You're going to have to find a creative way to obtain financing for properties. Sometimes that's for a fix and flip. Sometimes that's just for a rental, and you're going to refinance it with permanent debt after it seasons or after you do your work and you stabilize the property by putting a tenant in place, because some of these lenders, they want to see that the asset is stabilized before they're going to loan to you. So essentially you need to provide proof of concept for these properties. Now, I, as a lender, whenever I'm putting on that lender hat, out of all the hats that I wear, I ask myself a number of questions when somebody tries to borrow money. Number one, what is my risk? Can this operator execute the deal? How fast can I be repaid? And the biggest question, what happens if this goes sideways? This is what I and other lenders really want to look for when we are analyzing a deal. The numbers matter the most. I don't care that you're nice, that you volunteer on Sundays. That tells me that you are a good person with a kind heart. But I need to know, what are the numbers? What is my loan to value? What is the after repair value? What is your exit strategy? What's your borrower profile? Do you have a track record? Or are you a newbie? Or do you have skin in the game? Do you have money to bring to the table? Are you trying to source 100% money? The deal. I need to know why. Why this property, this location, and this point in time does this make a good deal? Let me share with you a few red flags, things that are going to get me to scrutinize the deal a little bit more closely, or just outright tell you that I don't have the time nor the inclination to mess with it. Unrealistic comps. That's a big one. If you inflate your after repair value and I'm able to go in here and have a difference of opinion, then we're going to incur a few other things. We're going to have some delays because now I'm going to engage an appraiser. We're going to get that third party opinion and we're going to make a conservative estimate based on that. If you don't have a clear exit, if you don't know what you're going to do with the property, then I'm going to be saying, okay, is this somebody that I want to loan hundreds of thousands of dollars to? If you have poor communication or a lack of transparency, if I feel like you're hiding something, then I'm not going to work with you. If you don't have your rehab budget dialed in, and by dialed in, I mean I want to know how long is it going to take? What is the scope of work? Did you have a contractor write this up for you? Is it line itemed, or was it written down and scribbled on a napkin at Waffle House that just said $25,000? I can tell you that that's not one that I would take. Then also one really big part for me is attitude. So if you call me acting like you're doing me a favor by borrowing money and you can't be bothered to follow the process that I have, then we're just not going to work together. It just is what it is. I learned a long time ago, and I still subscribe to this methodology. I'm going to take peace over profits. So that means that if you are disruptive to my life in any way, I'm not going to deal to you or deal with you. And a lot of private money lenders, that's how they feel too. Now, there are some green lights that I really do love about somebody. When you have your deal very clean and it's well presented, and you ran it through either professional software, you have it in a nice Word document or a PDF that's easy for me to look at and analyze. Oh, I want to be your friend. If you have third party contractor bids, oh, you speaking my language. If you have some personal funds already committed, hey, all right. If you have a proof of demand, even, I mean, that is like a bonus. But you're telling me that there's pre-listing interest, like before you even hit the market, there's people wanting to buy this house once it's remodeled? Huh. Well, I might have that interest. Another thing that you can do is position yourself to be worth investing in, right? And oh, there I go again. Uh, Package yourself. I'm just going to tell you, if you can actually do that, or create an investor credibility kit. This is a big part that I think a lot of people they kind of skip. You might have flipped 20 houses, and you might have been successful on every single one of them. But if you can't show me, then that's not really going to be something that I'm going to bank on. However, if you put together this kit that shows the history of the before, the afters, a lot of these different things that help me see these deals, but also see the type of person that you are. See the numbers, where you exited, what your profit was. Let me know that you're an operator. I want to take you a little bit seriously. And then you can use that social proof with me or any other investor to really say, hey, look, I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. I'm good at what I do. The other thing, if you can respond to requests quickly, that's kind of cool, right? Because that lets me know that you're responsive. And if I have to chase you to get answers on underwriting a deal, I'm probably going to have the thought process that I'm going to have to chase you for the monthly payment. So I kind of have that mentality from being a landlord for a while. If I have to chase you to pay your deposit or pay your application fee, or provide any documents to complete your application, or even if it's a showing, right? And I have to call and chase you to make sure that you're there, you're probably not going to be the best tenant. It means I'm going to end up chasing you, you know. No. Remember what I said about peace over profits. I'll let it sit vacant before I put a bad tenant in my properties. Same concept applies here. Now, if you would like to have a credibility kit, something like that, just send me a DM. So if you're watching this on, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, any of those, just DM me and you can say borrower credited, blah, 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 borrower credibility kit template. Or you can say, hey, Lee, can I get that kit? I'll get you the kit, right? And it's just a simple form that'll kind of give you an outline of what to provide people whenever you're going up for these kind of loans. So let's see, we're going to talk about stacking capital. Great. So I really like this component of that presentation, mainly because a lot of people they get on here and they see these gurus that say, hey, you can buy houses with no money. Pay me $20,000 and I'll teach you how. Okay. Or or you can just look and learn it for free. I'd say maybe start there. Then if you have questions, then you can go pay somebody $20,000. All this to say, let's get a visual because I'm more of a visual person, and some of you may be too. Down here in this color known as blue, and then there's one orange, one green. Unless I hear my wife shout out that that's not the colors because I'm kind of colorblind. I'm thinking it's blue, orange, green. That's your senior lender. So the senior lender is going to provide most of the money on the deal. Even though they provide most of it, they don't always provide all of it. Now, you might have some lenders that could go out and provide 100% and charge you no fees and do all these cool things for you. But last I checked, yeah, no, I haven't seen any unicorns around lately. So you probably have to go and develop that relationship with somebody that would be willing to do that. And it wouldn't be your first deal out the gate. Let's say, for example, you're looking to do your first deal. So you can secure that lender for the 70%. But now you need to come up with this other 30%. Damn it, where are you going to get it from? Well, hold on, here we go. That's where you're going to go to a private capital, right? So a private money lender or somebody that you know that has a 401k that they're putting to work and that they would loan this capital to you in what's called second position. Okay. So your senior lender, they're going to be taking the debt in first position, which means that they are first ones to get paid if you crap the bed. That's the kindest way I can put it. You mess up, they're going to come over here and they're going to take that property. They're going to be the first one to get the money back. Second position, right? It's kind of intuitive how that works. It's called lien theory. So as that happens, these people, they're probably going to charge you a little bit more money, but they're willing to take that risk in second position. And then you might be able to even gap that last 10% with an equity partner. So somebody that could bring that last 10% or even 30%, right? To where you didn't even need that private capital. They'll come in and they'll say, hey, look, I'll tell you what, I'll be your credit partner and I'll provide the down payment and I want 40%, 60% of the profits. after all expenses, everything else, and we have this $75,000, $100,000 profit. I want X amount of that. Might just work for you. Right now, obviously, you're going to have to run your numbers. You're going to have to make sure that everybody makes money, including you, right? Because this should not be a hobby for you. This is a very stressful hobby if that's what you're doing it for. If you're just going out here and you're being philanthropic and you just want to flip a house and sell it at a loss to people, and I'm making offers all day. So go ahead and do that. But you're not going to borrow my money to do it, right? So all that to say, find an equity partner. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You just have to do it. And making one Facebook post that gets seen by 10% of your audience, that's not going to do it. You're going to have to go out there and work over and over and over and network and meet people and build trust and develop relationships to get this to happen. It's effective, right? And it works. It's not necessarily the easiest things you're going to do, but it is simple. So try to keep that in mind. Now I'm going to give you a couple case studies. Before we get into this, I understand some of you might come for me in the comments and say, damn, Lee, you going to leave any money for anybody else to make profit? Yeah, I do. They have to make sure that I make profit too. Because again, you don't flip houses. You shouldn't invest in real estate as a hobby or a passion project. Damn it, I'm not going to lend money as a passion project. I might like you. No, you might be the best Boy Scout I ever saw. You could be a black belt Boy Scout, help old ladies cross the street. I mean, do all the cool things. Volunteer at the soup kitchen. But if you can't turn a profit for me, I'm not going to lend money to you. It's that simple. Probably not the nicest way to say it, but I mean, I focus on being a good man, not always a nice man, because the two aren't synonymous. So whenever I say something, I want you to know that I intend good with it. Sometimes I'm just not as eloquent as I probably could or should be. So let's talk about these before y'all start coming for me about how much I charge. Single family house. This was a fix and flip. It had a $350,000 ARV. I'm going to give you a quick little breakdown, some of the acronyms as we go through this. So please try to keep up. And if you don't, then great thing is this is available for replay. So go back it up, watch it again. Google terms you don't know, or you can go to my website, rawithlee.com, and get a free copy of my book right there. And I've got all the definitions. Great. It's actually kind of funny the way that I put it in there. So check it out. The $350,000 ARV, after repair value. 245 total cost, which means that it was $175,000 purchase price. We're looking at $70K on the rehab, and then there was $225K private money loan. Right, that was 12 months. It was loaned out at 12% interest, 2 points, and that was a total loan to value. So the loan to value is important because you have to understand that private money lenders, at least with any kind of sophistication or knowledge, they're going to lend based on certain what are called guidelines. A guideline is basically you as an investor, you have a buy box. It says, I'm going to buy 3-bedroom, 1-bath houses or more. I'm going to buy this square footage, et cetera, et cetera. And you don't deviate from your buy box. So as a lender, I've got a fix and flip guideline, which means that typically I'm going to go over here and I'm going to fund up to 80% of the purchase price. Excuse me. Up to 100% of the rehab cost. So all that to say, for example, let's you need $100,000 for the purchase, $50,000 for the renovation. The house is going to be worth $300,000. All right, I'm going to fund 80% of that purchase, which means I'll give $80,000, but you're going to bring the other $20,000. But then I'll bring the other whole $50,000 for you to do the remodel, right? And then essentially the total loan to value can't exceed more than 70% of the total ARV or after repair value. And so that's what we call the fix and flip guideline. Some lenders, they have 90%, some will do 100. I've got a couple borrowers that have proven themselves time and time again, and they bring great deals with great equity. So I'm comfortable giving them 100%. And, as you develop a relationship with your lender, with me or whomever, you might be able to unlock that as well. But all that to say, we were able to do this loan and they still ended up coming out making a solid profit. That's after all the expenses, all the costs. So you have to ask yourself, is it really expensive when I'm the person that or your lender is the person that holds the key to open the door to give you, let's say, an extra $75,000. Would you be so worried that you're going to trip over dollars to pick up dimes? And do you really want your relationships to be where it's so one sided that you're the only one that makes profit? Think about that. Here's another deal. This is one that we did over in Bossier City. I was actually telling Elena earlier that I really liked this project because not only did this borrower come in and do a great job on the rehab, I mean, look at the before and the after photos. Oh my goodness. Secondly, they came in here and raised the value of these properties, which is fantastic because Catherine owns two duplexes over here in this neighborhood. So it was a great win for both of us. Hey, Makai, hope everything's going well for you, man. So, real quick, if you can see this, we're going to go. It's a fix and flip loan. I'm sorry, a rehab and refinance, which means that they own this property outright, but they just didn't quite have the budget because they were allocated to other projects. They wanted to get this one taken care of, so they borrowed the rehab money from me. And over the course of the next few months, we charged 12% APR, 4 months, 4 points, and then we had extension fees. Since then, I've realized that those points were a little pricey on the extension. So I've kind of backed those down and I've kind of had to balance that out. But all that to say, for my investors, the people that I work with, because again, I've got people that, I lend my funds, and when all of my funds are loaned out into other projects working, I've got other people that come up to me and they'll say, Lee, I've got money in a self directed 401k. I've got X amount of liquid capital. I want to put it to work. And that's what we do. So I'll go out here, underwrite the deal. I work for them to help them do that. And I even have created a fund because it became so popular, right? So this has been great. And you'll see that they were able to achieve their goal and we were able to achieve ours, which is making a solid return on our investment. So this is an annualized return of 19%. Actually, no, this was just a flat 19%. So annualized out even higher. This was another one where it was 9% return in 6 months, and which again, that's 18% annualized. It was a solid little deal. These are not uncommon deals whenever you get off into this world. But one thing that you're going to notice every one of these deals, these investors bought the house right. They bought it properly, which means that they didn't go over here and look and say, oh, it's got so much charm and character. I'm just going to overpay for it. No. I mean, if you got money like that, then go do it. Be my guest because eventually you're going to make so many bad decisions that you're going to be out the game. I mean, you can do that, or you can make smart decisions, stay in the game for the long run. You can either change your family's financial trajectory for the better or the worse based on your decisions. And if you're going to follow your passion before you follow your wallet in real estate, uh, well, I hate to say it, but I've seen a lot more go than stay whenever they follow that business model. Let's see considerations. Just to kind of keep going on this, I think I've made it abundantly clear, but I'm going to do what I feel is best to protect my interests. I don't know a single lender with any ounce of sophistication that doesn't subscribe to that model, right? If I see where you're overly risky, I'm just going to deny working with you. And also, side note, let me just go back. I had this one loan, and it was last year. A guy calls me. He's wanting to buy a commercial building, but he didn't have the money. You know, and then he had another house that he was going to use as collateral as well because he wanted to pay, I think it was like 130 for this building, and he needed another 15 to finish this other project and flip it. So he pledged the house that he owned outright and then the collateral of this other property. So I was able to cross collateralize and not only raise the loan amount for him to where he didn't have to make monthly payments. It was all paid, prepaid, interest, everything was done. It was a clean deal all the way up until the end. And then this guy decides that he's going to start telling me how he's going to pay me back, and how, don't worry, I'm going to make the payment, but I need you to go ahead and sign the promissory note that it's paid in full, get it over here, let my attorney get ready to file it. First off, until the funds have cleared my bank, which means not just paid, but the holding period to where it can't be clawed back or anything else, until that is all done, we don't sign that you've paid in full. It got to the point to where I actually had I got involved with his attorney and explained to him that this is how we pay it back. This is how we're going to pay it back. And if not, well, then he's going to be in default as of the first. And well, if he's in default, I'm going to do everything that I can to rectify the default, which means up to and including foreclosing on the property. So he finally paid, he relented, but he didn't do it without throwing a fit. Then I think it was not even a month, maybe a month later, he reaches out. Hey boss, I need 50K. I'm sorry, what? That was my response is I got nothing for you. I can't help you because, well, actually, I won't help you because now I know and I've got you in the category of you are somebody that I do not want to deal with again. Go find another private money lender. Go find somebody else that made it that easy for you, right? And then I think it was even last week, he reached out. I think he said 25K this time. I don't know about you, but my response didn't change because if you make it difficult for me to do business and you make it frustrating and I have to inject more time out of my day into babysitting this, I don't want to work with you. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do, aside from making sure that I'm protecting my interest, is I'm going to protect yours. This is where some investors, especially the newer investors, they have made some horrible mistakes, and this is where I have a real frustration with the business in general because some contractors they're not worth. I don't want to put it. I ain't shit. It's the nicest way I could put it. Some aren't. I mean, but that again, it extends across well just about every other industry. But there's one investor that comes to mind that they had a project, they had a rehab that they were going to do, and it was a $70,000 rehab. And it really made me sad for this guy because I never want to see anybody lose. I might not like you, right? I don't want to see anybody lose. I think we're all in the game for a reason, and that's to improve the lives of us or our lives and the people around us. So whenever I found out that he had paid this contractor every bit of the money up front, the contractor never showed up. Never showed up, not even to the job site, not one day. It almost ruined him financially. If he hadn't had private money to be able to help him out, it would have ended his career as soon as he started. So that being said, every rehab project that I do, I don't just give somebody the full checkup front. Because while I might trust you, you might trust the wrong person. So to protect you, I'm going to give a draw system. We're going to say, hey, based on the scope of work that you've already given me, we're going to turn around and we're going to rehab the project in these phases, and you're going to get paid in these phases. So that's how we do that. And yeah, that's really, I don't know whatever happened to that contractor. Um, I hope that they were able to recover the money. I think they got arrested for contractor fraud, but if anything came of it, I don't know. I don't follow that. There's a lot of bad actors across every industry. So just make sure that you protect yourself. And when I can, well, that's where we step in to protect our borrowers as well. Let's talk about fees. Well, you've got these fees. It is what it is. Just like if you've got a cost that occurs to you and you've got a client purchasing your service and this is a requirement of that service, do you absorb that cost? A lot of the times you're going to pass it through, whether or not you pass it through directly to them to pay or you absorb it and then pass it through. but it's not a cost that you typically absorb. Same thing here. I'm not going to charge my rate because it dilutes my returns, right? So all that to say, I make my money, the people around me make their money, and you get the deal. So just understand that that's part of the game. Yes, setting some expectations. 100% funding is not a myth. You can get it. Can you get it on your first deal? Depends on your network and how people trust you. But if you come to somebody like me on your first deal, no, you're not. You're going to have to put some skin in the game. However, I am open to you sourcing that down payment from somebody else, from partnering up with somebody to bring the capital, from borrowing the capital and taking the second position loan, any of those things. But we're going to review a few documents. We're going to make sure that you have the cash flows and everything else to justify the loan and the payments. It just is what it is. Because how do I put this? It doesn't matter how good you may be at rehabbing a house. If you borrow the money and then month one you default, it was all for nothing. So we're going to make sure that you can at least pay that loan. And I would encourage you to have capital partners to work with you as you go through these kind of projects if you don't have the capital yourself. The other thing, and I think that, or at least I hope that I've alluded to this, I want you to succeed. Lenders want you to succeed. While I don't mind flipping a house, I enjoy flipping houses. I don't want to take it from you to do it. I don't mind going over here and finding my own projects. That being said, don't mess up and don't sit around thinking that it's a joke because I will go through as quickly as I can once you default to remedy the situation. Now, also that being said, quick confession time. Thankfully, in over 100 deals now that I've done private lending, I have not had a single foreclosure that I've had to do. Now, I have had people default. A default is quite simply classified as paid late. So I can't say that I've never had a default, just never had to foreclose. Let's see. We want you to succeed, set the terms. Yeah. I wouldn't say go in here and start making demands with money, not of the people that have it anyway, because there is that golden rule. They that have the gold make the rules. And I've had to play that game too. I just refinanced a package of 16 properties and paid over $40,000 in closing costs for that package. It is what it is. Chalk it down or chalk it up to, just charge to the game, I guess. A couple last thoughts on this is, take your project seriously. Whenever you treat it professionally, then it's going to treat you professionally. Establish your track record, build your reputation because a reputation takes years. And I'm talking years of hard work to build. It only takes seconds to destroy. Focus on building that reputation and be impeccable with it. Be professional because even if you're only investing part time, you want to make sure that your reputation stays as a professional. Let's see. And here we go. We're going to make like a holiday present and wrap it up. I know I'm punny. I thought it was funny. Anyway, yeah, you can scan the QR code. You can follow me on those social medias that are there. I think the only thing that's not there, TikTok. And if you just like the lulls, if you like memes, follow me on TikTok. I'm kind of a funny guy. Aside from that, Insta, Facebook, which if you're watching this on those platforms, you're probably already following. I'm going to go ahead and start diving into some questions. Richard, so what's a good source platform to find off-market deals? Richard, I'm going to give you that old investor adage of it depends, right? And it depends on how much time you want to put into sourcing your own deals. So if you're going to go out there and treat it like your job to source deals, then obviously you can go to like Privy, PropStream, some of these other sites. You can buy lists. You can do cold calling. You can hire a cold caller. Or when you get frustrated with that process and say, to hell with this, then start connecting and networking with wholesalers because that is the job that they've taken up. That is the mantle that they carry. So if somebody is great at wholesaling and they bring me great deals, I don't care if they make a little money too. So I would say really network a lot with your wholesalers and, get out there in front of a few different, realtors. Now, my preferred methodology of working with a realtor is working with one realtor that knows, hey, look, You bring me the deal, and I give you the business. It's that simple. It's that clean. Matter of fact, I still have realtors that call me and send me deals because they know that if you bring me a deal and I wasn't aware of it, you get to have my commission. I'm not going to sit here and not reward you with commission whenever you brought something to my attention that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I would say definitely, if you're looking to do that without spending a lot of time, Richard, go out there and network a lot with your wholesalers. So there's a couple real estate meetups and some groups. You've got RE365, you've got Shreveport Bossier Real Estate Investors Association, and Louisiana Real Estate Investors. That's another great group. Go out there and connect with those wholesalers because that is their focus. And those wholesalers, when I told you earlier, do direct mail, do cold calling, do these things, they're already doing it. So, you know what? They've already got the systems, the processes in place, and they're probably a little bit more skilled at negotiating well. Let them go to work for you. Another great thing to do is anytime you get into an Uber or Lyft or anywhere where somebody is doing delivery, slip them your card and say, "Hey, look, I'd love for you to call me anytime you see a deal that looks like this. If the house has a tarp on it, if the landscaping looks like crap, if it looks run down, vacant, beat up, bruised, burned, I want to know about it." So if you do those kind of things, eventually you're going to have a pipeline of people that are going to be sending you regular deals. Let's see. That's kind of really it, as far as la presentation. So if any of you have any questions as we get ready to wind down the night, I'm more than happy to have that conversation. And if not, I'm more than happy to just piss off and go spend the rest of my evening and relax. Um, I do need to get. I need to see if I have an offer back in yet. Nope. Okay. So this is probably where we wind it down. I hope that you all have an amazing week. If you are in the Central Florida, Orlando area, I welcome you to come out and join me on Thursday. I'll be making, I'm sure, another post or two before then. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, anything that I can help with, please just reach out. And I hope that you have an amazing week. Take care.